Hey, this is Ascending Alps day 5. 5 is one of my favorite numbers, by the way, so this must be a special episode or something. Well, I mean, it is, because I'm finally getting around to some of that organizational stuff that I've been telling you that I really wanted to start getting to. So basically what I'm working on at this second is I am cleaning out my closet. But it's not just any closet. It is a closet that I turned into my office. So in order to create the space that I need to have some time to be able to close myself off and work and, connect with myself and be present for my business and all the stuff I have to work on, I wanted to have a space where I could actually do that for myself. So I did this back in 2020. Actually, I emptied this out and I made it into a great looking office, which I've been very inconsistent with keeping or with staying on top of, and that's something that I intend on changing. I intend on becoming way more consistent with taking care of this and keeping it as a space that I can utilize. So as of right now, it's just full of a bunch of stuff that, granted, it's stuff that I use for my business, but it's just tossed in and it just started piling up so much. So I'm now taking some time to go through it all and try to organize it and find some rhyme or reason for what's even in here. Because if it doesn't serve a purpose for my personal well-being or for my business, then I'm gonna donate or toss it, depending on what it is. So let's start with why I've decided to do this, considering one of the things I keep telling you that I want to do organization-wise is, calendar, plan, list, work out what I have to get done for work and for school and for myself and just all that stuff coming up. But I realized that in order to actually be productive and get any of that done, I had to dive into this. Now, I could have started this video once I finished cleaning, but I decided I would make this video while I'm cleaning. And I kind of want to start off by sharing with you a direct quote that I actually got from a friend of mine. She is an interior designer. Her name is Cassiana Jensen, interior designer. And I wanted to be able, I knew I was going to talk about organization today. So I wanted to be able to share with you a little something of importance from a professional about why it's important. So I asked her to tell me in a quick little brief blurb why it is important to create a space for yourself to work in or live in, just in general, why it's important to set up a great space for yourself. So again, this is Cassiana Jensen, interior designer. Per usual, I will put any links to her in the description. That way you can find her and check her out because she's incredible. But anyway, so I said, Cassiana, can you tell me a little bit about why it is important to create a space, a clean, organized, thought out, mindful space for yourself? And she said, we don't usually think about how much the environment that we are in can make our feelings and behavior change. We are directly affected by our surroundings. And when you stay in a space with a lack of storage, wrong colors, or a space too crowded, you can feel overwhelmed, sad, and start to have anxious feelings. It is proven that a well-designed space can improve your feelings and your productivity. So, as you know, that's what I've been trying to work on, improving productivity. So I figured if I set the space for myself first, then I would be able to work on improving some of that productivity. So I'm just kind of sifting through some of the stuff I have in here, making some room. This is a bunch of 100% pure soy wax that I use for making candles. These are some of the packaging that I use for those candles. They're cute little jars with these corks, but they're just sitting here. They, of course, are useful because I do utilize these as gifts as well as for clients. Sometimes I make them for people. Sometimes my clients make them on their own. But we're going to need to keep those. But I'm just starting by moving some of the stuff just out of the way because I do find that for me, when it comes to organizing stuff, I have to empty the space first. So as opposed to see like video equipment. You can see a bunch of my random video tripods and equipment stuck up there, some cameras. When I tell you the variety of stuff in here is unreal. Some paintings. These are from when I make my intention setting kits. Which I'll actually be making a whole new batch of those soon. So we might actually do a whole little chat about that soon. Some random paintings that I've just started that, you know, came back around to. My resin mat. I do resin projects. This is actually an example of a bookmark that I've created with resin. Oh my God, I love going through my stuff because then it's like some of the things I straight up didn't even realize were in here, and it's super exciting to find. So, yeah, this is a complete mess. Like I said, everything kind of just started getting stacked up and piled in, but we're tackling it. We're diving in. I'm starting with one little piece at a time. First, I'm going to empty it out, and then once it's emptied out, I'll slowly move everything back in to find some type of place for everything in some way. Oh my gosh, some of my essential oils are in this. Everything is just all over the place in here because I just eventually, well, you know, that's a good example of something that happens when we put stuff off too much. So we were talking yesterday about how not everything has to be done right now. Not everything has to be done tomorrow, but tomorrow is never going to come. We always have to treat every moment just like just now. So what I mean by that is that if we keep waiting for tomorrow, we're going to always be waiting for tomorrow. Eventually, there has to be a right now. There has to be a, in this moment, this is when I'm going to make a change. And when you wait too long to take some of those steps, this is an example of what happens. Things start to build up and it becomes cluttered and it becomes messy, but that's okay. It's still manageable and we can still deal with it if it gets to that point. So if you have slipped up where you're at a point where you think you may have been sitting in your feelings or your emotions too long, mental health issues are real. So if you're feeling anxiety or depression and it's stopping you from getting your stuff done, don't let that make you feel like it's never going to get done. When you're ready, you'll know and you'll be able to do it. And if you're wondering when it is that you're ever going to be ready and you need a little push and you don't have someone that you want to reach out to, family, friend-wise, doctor-wise, you can always reach out to me and I'm more than happy to share some of that support and help you find that push to, you know, find that motivation to get moving with some of the stuff that you might have been putting off. Because I know I personally have been lacking in that. I've been looking for that support because sometimes it's hard to hold ourselves accountable. It's super important to hold ourselves accountable for things. It's actually beyond important. Like, we should always be holding ourselves accountable for our own actions, our own, just everything in our own lives, because ultimately we're the only ones that control any of that. But it's okay to not only want, but need accountability from someone else. And it's more than okay to reach out for help to friends, to family, to, again, doctors, healers of any kind, like, to just reach out for that support, because it is out there whether you realize it is or not. So if you need help finding any of those resources, if you've been looking for a little bit more support and you haven't been able to find any, just let me know and we can try to work on that together, because that's something that I know I needed. I actually found it very helpful that my partner recently saw how bad this was, and I swore to him that I was going to get this done, and I haven't yet. So I've been like avoiding letting him see it, which is going to be funny because he's going to see this video. He's probably rolling his eyes right now as he goes over this part. Anyway, what I was getting at though is that I know that someone is waiting to see the finished product of this, so it is helping me get it done. And I thought, what better way to hold myself even more accountable than to hop on here and to do this right in front of you guys. See, like I said, random supplies. This goes to my Cricut so that I can personalize and make stuff. There's random books in here. This is a fantastic book for getting yourself going. We were just talking about getting the ball rolling. This is one of the books you definitely want to check out. The Fire Starter Sessions. It's incredible. It's a soulful and practical guide to creating success on your own terms. We could dive into this on another time if anyone's interested in going a little deeper about this. Otherwise, I will also drop the link to this in the description so that you can check it out if you're interested. But see, we're getting somewhere. Once you start moving, like, this was such a pile. Everything looked so crazy, but as I start breaking it down, I realize it's really not as much as I thought it was, and it's not going to be that hard to find a space for everything. And that's exactly what it is that I'm going to work on, because going back to what Cassiana had suggested about setting things up with the proper colors and the proper storage settings. And so I'm going to go through each and every one of these things and just find a home for everything. That's my intention by the end of this. What I plan on having done is, you know, like I just said, that's my intention. I always record these on my computer, so when it goes blank or when the screen goes black, I'm like, is it still recording? So you probably just got a nice awkward pause of me being like, while I checked if it was still recording. But here we are, we're still going. So this is emptying out. I'm almost done with removing the stuff that's like on the floor that was just taking up space in here. Oh cool, a couple more examples of some bookmarks that I just like created. They were more so for fun than for selling, but I give them as gifts a lot, and I could sell them. It depends on, when I sell things, it's more so because I decided to make a big batch, or because I'm doing a custom order or something. Because the way my mind works, it's very rare for me to just create the same thing over and over. So I go through phases where I may want to do bookmarks, or I may want to make intention setting kits, or I may want to make candles, and it's fun. It's fun to be able to sporadically choose to mix it up. Sometimes I wire wrap jewelry. You can see some of that wire here needs some attention and some love, but it's here. All that stuff is in here. We got the crystals and all that good stuff. So we're just working on finding a way to make this space fit me, how to fit what I need for my business, how to fit what like will help me with my mental health. Like there's just, my whole plan is to make this a safe and comfortable space for me to create, work, meditate, whatever it may be that I decide to do in here. Like this is so random. Like my son's diapers end up in here. Like how did that even end up in here? This is one of my favorite things that I have because it's super important to keep moving. And I personally, I've mentioned this to you guys a couple of times, I have a really intense amount of energy that can overwhelm my body at times. So if I'm on the phone for work, a lot of times I find myself pacing back and forth. So I actually got this to keep under my desk so that I could actually just pedal and get a little bit of a stationary workout in and be moving around to like release some of that energy while working. And I find that it keeps me so creative. I absolutely love being able to do that. And that's one of my favorite little purchases that I made for this office so far. So yeah, I'm just kind of moving through. I'm just about done with emptying this out. And I'm going to be doing this in other areas of my house as well. I plan on doing this anywhere that I may have been overstoring things. Like for example, drawers, closets, anywhere that I may have been just stacking up piles. I'm going to start going through to make room for new things by releasing the old. That's one of the most important things you can do. If we don't release and let go of things, then how could there be room for new things to come into our lives? Those things that we're trying to manifest, those things we're trying to bring forward. If we're holding on to old stuff, then how could we even have space for this new stuff to, you know, manifest into our lives, walk into our life, appear in our lives, like show up for us? If we're not showing up for ourselves by paying attention to what serves our true purpose, then how can we expect anyone or anything else to show up for us? So the first step to that is by setting a space for yourself that you're comfortable, where you can feel grounded, safe, where you can create, meditate. If that's not where your mind goes, you could use that space for anything that you want to use. Like, I'm not saying it has to be for any of the things I listed, but I do really firmly, strongly believe in setting up a space for yourself, whether it be to work in or even if it's just to hang out in. And by doing things, putting stuff up that like make you feel good to look at. Like I love adding certain pieces of my art. I sometimes rotate them and hang them differently. I was actually talking to you about intention setting kits that I make. This is the first tree that I ever made, and that's what inspired it all. No, let me rephrase that. That is not the first tree that I ever made. I have been drawing and painting trees since I was a kid, like literally since I was a kid. But that is the first intention setting tree I ever made that inspired the kits for me. And basically what I do, none of the leaves are up there now, so I'll just wait for a different episode to explain it more, but I do use that for my intention setting process, and I really enjoy that. But yeah, like I found some things that I enjoy, like there's my sound healing bowl, or at least one of them. There's one of my little landscaping, mindful Zen gardens. I have an incense burner. I usually put my books up there. So I'm like working, I got a calendar there, I have a desk calendar, a planner. Again, that'll be like a whole nother topic. This is my little chalkboard wall. My son draws on that a lot, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm always open to leaving space for creativity. So yeah, that's really the gist. Just to kind of sum it up and just rewind for a second to highlight some of the things that I think are really important that I really want to stand out today is let go of some of the stuff you've been holding on to. Because even if it's just sitting there doing nothing, in a sense, it's holding you back because it simply doesn't need to be there. And clutter in your space does become clutter in your mind. So if you don't need it, get rid of it. You can donate it, you can sell it. And if it's trash, it's okay to trash it. Because if it's just sitting here doing nothing, then it's okay. It's okay to do whatever you have to do to get rid of it. So yeah, let go of some of the old stuff. That way you can make room for new stuff. Set a space for yourself where you can be yourself, where you can be true to yourself, where you can honor yourself, where you can just feel safe and grounded. Maybe it is a closet and you want to just shut the doors to the world. And when you're in here, it's just you and yourself, and whatever else you want to be with you is here with you. And that is just what I inspire you to do. So I'm going to keep going in here. Everything needs to find a home now that I've got everything out. I'm going to go through the actual draws next. Those look crazy, right? I know. That looks insane. Those look insane. Like I said, it's over. This is like 3 years of work stuff that has been building up. And I'll keep this space clean sometimes. Not sometimes, most of the time. But I haven't really put much thought into reorganizing my draws or any of these spaces. So thanks to Cassiana's advice, I'm going to dig into all of my storage spaces, get those organized, and then once I get done with this space, I'll be able to drive-in works too, I guess. I'll be able to dive in to some of the more business and daily organizational tasks that I've been waiting to dive into. So we're going to set the space here, and tomorrow I will see you back here to show you the outcome of all of this, along with to talk about some of those other organizational things that we were going to talk about, because you're talking to someone who is chaotic, but is mindfully chaotic. So I take what I do in my life, and instead of trying to erase the chaos, I learn how to mind it. And that's something that I share. I actually share that more so on my podcast, but we're bringing it specifically here for this episode, or for these few little episodes of this segment, Ascending Alps, because I really do think that minding the chaos and taking the time to create methods, to create spaces, and just to create routines that work specifically for us in our own lives is so important. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in again today for day 5 of Ascending Alps. I am so grateful to be able to share this with all of you, because like I said, I'm holding myself accountable. I'm looking forward to be able to come back and show off like all of the new spots that I created here, all of just my new space. I'm really excited, and I hope that this encourages you in some way to let go of whatever it is that you've been holding on to, whether it's in here or whether it's in your physical space. It's time for us to start working on letting that stuff go so we can bring in that stuff that we've been waiting for, that stuff that we want, that stuff that we need, that stuff that we deserve. It's already ours, and it's time for us to claim it. So let that ish go and bring in the new. Here we go, baby. Thank you all so much again. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for sharing this journey, and I am looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow. Love and good vibes. Love and good vibes. Mwah.